Hey guys, what's up? Clucian here with a new video. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about the Shockadin spec for Holy Paladin in PvP. It is a pretty underrated spec, and so there's not a lot of information on it out there. So I figured this guide could kind of help some of you get started if you are interested in trying out the spec. It is a ton of fun in PvP. So anyways, let's take a look at some of the gameplay tips I have for you guys. So if you ask me, Shockadin in PvP really has three main objectives. The first of which is keeping you and your teammates alive, most of which you're going to do with Flash of Light. It's pretty much all reliable. It's your most efficient heal, and it has a pretty fast cast time, so you're spamming this is going to be your go-to for healing. Sometimes you can go for Holy Lights. If someone's getting like bursted and you want to kind of counteract that with a huge burst heal, you can try and go for this. I still wouldn't recommend it though, because the 2.5 second cast time means you're probably going to get interrupted. The only time I really go for Holy Lights is like if I'm in a bubble and I know I can't be CC'd or kicked, or like if my Scarab trinket procs and I have increased cast speed, or if nobody's around me to kick me, everyone's kick is on cooldown. Other than that, your only other heal is going to be Holy Shock in Arena, and you really only want to use Holy Shock for emergencies. It is the biggest component in your burst damage, so if the situation's coming up where you might need to go ahead and help your teammates secure a kill, having this on cooldown can really screw you over. It does have nice burst healing though. In an emergency situation, the fact that it's instant cast does give you some mobility options as well, but it only has a 20-yard range, so you have to keep that in mind. So that brings us to our second objective in PvP as Shockadin, which is securing kills with our burst damage. Most people don't know, but Shockadin is actually capable of dealing like 3,000 to 5,000 damage in one global cooldown. It's pretty insane. The only other thing that really can compete with us is Palm Pyro Mage, which happens to be one of the best twos comps for Shockadin. Is just Palm Pyro Shockadin. It's pretty cheesy, but it is fun. If you guys do want to try it, I recommend it. So the reason why we're able to do so much burst damage in one global is because we have so many things off the global cooldown, like Avenging Wrath, our 30% damage buff for 20 seconds, and Divine Favor to guarantee our next Holy Shock to crit, and then Judgement is just not on the global cooldown at all. So if you pre-apply Seal of Righteousness, you can just Holy Shock Judgement at the same time, and they'll hit at the same time because Judgment's not going to be on the global. And because of this, we can actually make a pretty nice little macro, as you can see here. You can press a lot of these buttons all at the same time with this macro because, like I said, they're not on the global. So the first thing you're going to want to do is slash cast Avenging Wrath into slash cast Divine Favor, and then slash cast, you can actually use a on use like spell power trinket if you have it, and then cast Holy Shock and cast Judgement. They'll cast at the same time, hit at the same time, like I said, and the Holy Shock's going to do anywhere from like 2,000 to 3,000 damage, and then the Judgment's going to do like 1,000 to 2,000 damage. And then if somehow they manage to survive the Holy Shock Judgement, you can always follow up with Hammer of Wrath for the execute. With a half-second cast time, it's pretty reliable. One thing to note is that if you can, in like a perfect world, pre-apply Seal of the Crusader with Judgement, it will amplify your burst damage quite a bit, although 99% of the time it's not really worth doing, just because you have to Judgement of the Crusader and then wait 8 seconds and then do your burst. Most of the time that's going to give away what you're doing, and people are going to be ready for it to pop cooldowns or whatever. So most of the time I'd recommend just pre-applying Seal of Righteousness and then using our trusty macro over here to just go ahead and... So that brings us to our third and final objective in PvP, which is utility and enabling ourselves and our teammates, most of which we're going to be doing with the power of blessings. Namely, Blessing of Freedom is really good if you have a melee DPS trying to stick on an enemy range DPS. It's just going to make them immune to any movement impairing effects. It's really good against like frost mages. It just makes you completely immune to ice novas and frostbolt slows and all that stuff. Another thing is Blessing of Protection, which is really good if you have like a mage or a warlock in your arena. It's going to enable them to be completely immune to interrupts like kick and pummel, as well as all physical damage, and then they're going to be able to still cast spells for 10 seconds, which is pretty huge. One thing to note is that if you use Blessing of Freedom or Blessing of Protection on an ally, it is going to overwrite their damage blessing that you've given them, may it be like King's, Might, Wisdom, Light, etc., you're going to want to reapply that buff after the Blessing of Protection or Blessing of Freedom fades. As you can see here, I'll go ahead and I have Blessing of Might on myself, you can see there. As soon as I apply this Blessing of Freedom, it's going to remove Might. Bam. So then as soon as this is gone, we're going to have to reapply Blessing of Might. When they say players may only have one blessing on them per paladin at any one time, they fucking mean it, man. Like literally any spell with blessing in the name will remove your buffs. So just keep that in mind. Another nice thing is Blessing of Sacrifice. If your arena partner is getting opened on by 2 people at once or something and you're afraid you're not going to be able to heal through it or you're going to get CC'd, whatever, go ahead and apply Sacrifice to them because you'll actually end up sharing a lot of the damage with them. And it helps a lot. Like, it's actually a huge defensive cooldown for them. And you can maintain 100% uptime on it. The other thing to note here is that if you have Blessing of Sacrifice on an ally and you get, say, polymorphed or sapped or whatever, since you're taking damage from that Blessing of Sacrifice, it'll actually remove like blind sap polymorph. It's actually huge into rogue mages, which is the meta. Keeping Sacrifice up is a must into those teams. The other thing we have is Bubble, obviously. That's 12 seconds of complete immunity, and you can still cast spells. You can even swing your weapon, it's just a lot slower. But you can pretty much do everything. Like, you can fully do your burst rotation, you just won't be able to use Avenging Wrath while bubbled. So something to keep in mind. And then we also have Hammer of Justice, basically our big CC. It does have a 1-minute cooldown, so you want to make sure you use it sparingly, only when you're going to be able to guarantee like a trinket or a kill out of the enemy team. The other thing we have that's nice for CC is Seal of Justice. This is especially good into like Resto Druids because it limits their move speed, right, at like 90% or something. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but the big thing is that Travel Form gives them no additional move speed. It's going to really allow your teammates to stick on Druids when normally they couldn't. So make sure if there's a Druid, go ahead and apply Seal of Justice and Judgment. Also, if you're not going to secure a kill or like you don't need to heal a teammate, you've already used your utility or whatever, you can apply Seal of Justice to yourself and just auto attack somebody because there's a chance that it stuns for 2 seconds. Like if you're out of other stuff to do, you can go for this. The other like minor CC thing we have is like Turn Evil, which is really only good against Warlock pets, but if for some reason you encounter the rare Demonology Warlock or something and there's a Felguard just on your face wailing away at you, don't forget you can just sphere it for 20 seconds. It's actually very nice. And then the other thing we have is Cleanse. As a Holy Paladin, we are one of only 2 healers in the game, other than Priests, that can actually dispel magic effects, which is very, very nice for PvP. It also removes poison and disease, so you want to make sure you're using this as much as you can. Alright, so now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and talk talents. Basically, as Shockadin, your main goal is going to be picking up all of the essential healing talents from the Holy Tree, and then picking up some very nice damage talents from the Ret Tree. So we're going to start out here with Divine Intellect, 5 out of 5. This is really nice actually because as Holy Paladin, we're one of the only classes in the game that really scales spell damage off of Intellect from Holy Guidance here. These talents just have really good synergy, so you definitely want to go 5 out of 5 Divine Intellect. It's really a no-brainer. After that, improve Seal of Righteousness. This is going to help our burst damage a lot because our Judgment of Righteousness is a large part of that. So after that, we go Spiritual Focus. This is a 70% chance not to get pushed back when you take damage, which is very nice. It's kind of a must-have actually, because if you have like a pet or a melee class on you just wailing away on you and you're trying to cast, this can be crucial. One thing to note is that combined with Concentration Aura, 35% reduced chance to get pushed back, you literally suffer 0 pushback. Like if you have this talent 5 out of 5 and you have Consecration Aura on, you can completely ignore pushback and just cast in people's faces as long as their kick's on cooldown. So after that, we go ahead and come into Healing Light. This is one of those must-have healing talents for any paladin that's trying to heal, really. 12% damage on your best heal is kind of a big deal. After that, we come down into Illumination. This is pretty nice for just mana efficiency. Whenever you get a crit, which is pretty often, a spell crit's one of our most important stats, you get 60% of the base cost mana back, which is really nice. After that, I go ahead and go 2 out of 2 improved Blessing of Wisdom. This is like actually 9 MP5 more than the base Blessing of Wisdom, so it is pretty nice. It can help a lot, especially if the games drag on. After that, I head into Divine Favor. This is obviously essential to our burst rotation. And then Holy Power. Spell critical chance of holy spells by 5%. This is our healing spells and our damaging holy spells, obviously. Next, we're going to go and pick up Holy Shock. This is essential. This is where our spec gets its name. So you're going to want to go and pick up Holy Shock for sure. After that, Bless Life. This is kind of an insane talent, actually. It's really good against like arms warriors. If they come to hit you with like a juicy Mortal Strike and it procs Bless Life, it does half damage. It says here, all attacks against you have 10% chance to cause half damage. So yeah, pretty nice. And then next up is Holy Guidance. We're actually only going to want to put 3 out of 5 points in this, at least for the first season of TBC. While we don't have as much intellect, it's actually better to go ahead and pick up Improved Sanctity Aura 2 out of 2 for 2% more damage for you and your teammates as well. But anyways, we're going to head into the ret tree now and check out Benediction 5 out of 5. This is nice. It's just going to reduce your mana costs over the course of the game. If you run with melee classes a lot and you actually are using Blessing of Might like in every arena you play, you can run that. But for Shockadin, if you're running with like a Palm Pyro or another Shockadin in 2s, you're definitely going to want Benediction. And then you're going to head into Improved Judgement. This is really nice. 2-second lower cooldown on Judgement. A lot of utility and damage from this one. After that, you kind of have a choice. Like I said before, if you can get a Judgment of Righteousness on the target, it is going to amplify your damage, and that can be nice, but like 99% of the time, it's pretty unrealistic that you're just going to like proc this, wait 8 seconds, and then do your damage. It's going to just give it away most of the time, so I prefer to actually go 3 out of 3 into Deflection, just a little bit of extra survivability and some melee timer resets. Not bad. After that, I come down into Pursuit of Justice. This is actually my favorite talent in the ret tree. It feels so good. Once you have it, you really won't want to go back. It reduces your chance to be hit by spells by 15%, which is nice. But the big thing is permanent, mounted, and unmounted 15% move speed. Doesn't stack with other increases, but just having that perma 15% on such an immobile and stationary class feels very, very nice. After that, we come down and grab Crusade, just a flat 3% damage increase against all humanoids in PvP. And then Eye for an Eye. This is pretty cool talent, actually. If you get crit by a spell, it reflects 30% of the damage you take back to the caster, basically. So, pretty nice. If a mage hits you or really hard or something, you kind of slap them back. It's not much, but it's nice. After that, Sanctity Aura. This is the main reason why we're here in the ret tree. This is just a flat 10% damage on our burst, which is obviously very nice. And then, like I said before, Improved Sanctity Aura. This is a choice. Improved Sanctity Aura for Holy Guidance, but like I said, at least in the early seasons, Improved Sanctity Aura is usually going to pull ahead for you. So this is the spec you're generally going to want to run in like Battlegrounds or for most PvP as a Shockadin. But I also have this other spec. If you decide to run like Turbo Cleave in 3v3 and you just want like more utility for melee classes, this is a good alternative. We basically pull our points out of Sanctity Aura, Crusade, Eye for an Eye, so we sacrifice a little bit of damage as well as a little bit less Vindication, like rather than 10% reduced attributes, we're only getting 5%. But I think it's worth it if you're running with like a Turbo Cleave, because what we do pick up is Improved Devotion Aura, and since we don't have Sanctity Aura, this is mostly what we're going to use, and this is actually like an additive 400 damage for every person on your team. It's pretty nice. But the main reason why we go into Protection is this here, Guardian's Favor. This is a 2-minute lower cooldown on your Blessing of Protection, which can help out a lot, right? Like it goes from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. It might not seem like it, but it's actually a big deal. And then Blessing of Freedom duration increased by 4 seconds is huge. It's so huge. It's so nice if you're running like Turbo Cleave to just be able to have your Shaman sticking on a target for 4 extra seconds. It can make the difference. So yeah, that's pretty much it for talents. Oh, one more thing I want to go ahead and mention is the stat priority as Shockadin. Your main stat you're going to want to go for is going to be Healing and Spell Power. followed by spell crit, and then intellect, and then mana per 5. So there you have it. That's pretty much all there is to know about Shockadin at the moment. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and learned something along the way. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.